Anelle and Jihoon Part 53. As the gates closed behind them, the familiar structure of the Han estate rose into view. Warm, majestic, yet quiet. Lanterns hung from the arched entrance, and trimmed hedges lined the walkways. Waiting on the steps stood Zola and Thulani, arms linked next to them. Taiho and Nihal stood side by side, their smiles calm, eyes soft. The doors of the car opened. Jihoon stepped out first and reached back to help Anelle. She stepped into the morning light, baby Daejin cradled in her arms, wrapped in a pale blue shawl. Zola rushed down the steps. "I couldn't sleep," she said, hugging Anelle tight. "I lit a candle before sunrise and kept whispering, 'Let them arrive in peace.'" "We did," Anelle replied, smiling, "because someone prayed us home." Thulani scooped Daejin into his arms with ease and joy. "Look at this young prince," he declared, pressing a kiss to the baby's forehead. "Not a wrinkle on him," Zola added proudly. "He had royal saltwater baths." Laughter filled the air as the group walked inside together. Inside the estate, the grand hall smelled like sandalwood and sunlight. A new painting of Anelle, Jihoon, and baby Daejin hung above the stairs, a gift commissioned by Taiho and unveiled as a surprise. Nihal turned to Anelle. "This place was waiting for your warmth." Taiho grinned, and mine was waiting for quiet. By noon, the kitchen smelled of baked butter rolls, tea masala, and roasted sesame. Anelle sat on the couch, finally barefoot again, her curls tied loosely, Daejin sleeping peacefully in a bassinet beside her. Jihoon returned from upstairs, now in a soft t-shirt and linen pants, his suit folded away. He joined her on the couch and whispered, "I never want to leave again." "Then let's stay here and name the hours as they pass," Anelle replied. Later that afternoon, the family gathered under the olive tree in the garden where a long table had been set with light cloth and fresh-cut fruit. No ceremony, no speeches, just voices, clinking glasses, and stories. Thulani told Jihoon tales from Johannesburg, and Zola wept softly, brushing Anelle's cheek with her thumb. Taiho looked around the table and said quietly, This is what peace looks like." Jihoon looked at his wife, his child, his friends, his family. "Yes," he agreed, "and now we protect it, together." 2 years had passed since the day Anelle walked down the aisle with trembling hands and a heart filled with light. 2 years since Jihoon, standing beneath a canopy of silk and magnolia, whispered, "Welcome home, my queen." In that time, kingdoms shifted, but not through war, not through blood, through love. And now the world watched again. The coronation hall had been reborn. No longer an ivory chamber bound by gold and silence. It now breathed with purpose. The floors had been stripped and replaced with stone carved by artisans from both Korea and South Africa. Light spilled through a stained glass dome, its colors dancing across the crowd. A drumbeat began, slow, reverent. Jihoon walked forward. He wore a tailored navy ceremonial robe, its edges woven with threads dyed from mountain herbs. No sword hung at his side, no scepter graced his hand. He carried only a small scroll, a copy of the first law he had written. Every citizen has the right to be heard. Anelle walked beside him. Her dress shimmered like a story stitched in silence. Its bodice was detailed with Korean embroidery and South African beadwork, the skirt flowing with every step. A gold hairpin, shaped like a paintbrush, held her curls in place. The crowd rose. The prince, once guarded and towering, now stood gently at the crown platform. Time had softened his edges. He stepped forward. "Jihoon," he said, "you are not my son by blood, but you are my heir by honor." He looked to Anelle. "And you crossed oceans not to take a throne, but to mend its heart." You are not the queen of our past, but of our becoming. Jihoon and Anelle knelt together. The prince placed the crown upon Jihoon's head, not with grandeur, but with reverence. Anelle's crown was not identical, but equal. It was lighter, built of silver and carved wood. It reflected sun and memory. By voice of the council and blessing of the ancestors, the high scribe declared, Jihoon of the House of Han is now king. Anelle of Johannesburg is now council queen. The hall thundered. 1 month later, Jihoon sat in a linen robe beneath the skylight of the newly constructed People's Dome. A child stood before him, barely 10, speaking about building solar-powered irrigation in her grandfather's village. Jihoon listened. He asked questions. He took notes. Behind him, Anelle sketched the girl's idea as a painting concept. All around them sat citizens, farmers, artists, students, single mothers, retired soldiers. The space was alive with voices. There was no podium, only a round table. And the throne? It remained empty in every meeting, because Jihoon didn't sit above them. He sat with them, the Home of Hope Orphanage. Zola stood at the main entrance of the new orphanage, sunlight dancing across her face. Thulani stood beside her, steadying the young mango tree. Children gathered around, each with a small paper leaf bearing their dream. One by one, they tied them to the tree's slender branches. I want to be a nurse. I want to be like Queen Anelle. I want to go to Korea. Thulani laughed gently. Plant your dreams deep, and they'll grow. The final leaf, written by a silent boy who had never spoken before, read, I want to belong. Zola pressed his hand. You already do. The sun was just setting, casting golden streaks across the familiar park path. There were no cameras, no guards, just King Jihoon, Queen Council Anelle, their fingers intertwined. They paused by the same bench where she once sat sketching a stranger. The stage wasn't gold, it was wood, aged, simple, honest. King Jihoon stood at the front of the People's Dome, not in robes or medals, but in a soft gray suit with rolled-up sleeves. Before him sat over 300 young minds, bright, eager, burning with potential. 40% of them had come from South Africa through a partnership Queen Council Anelle had first envisioned and King Jihoon had funded. Each of them bore a lanyard with their name and hometown. Limpopo, Gqeberha, Pretoria, Durban. He spoke softly, no microphone needed. You are not here to serve the crown. You are here to question it, challenge it, improve it. This kingdom belongs to your ideas, not my inheritance. The room erupted in a standing ovation, not just for his words, but for the truth they carried. From the back row, Queen Council Anelle wiped a silent tear. Later that week, under the soft morning sun, Queen Council Anelle laid out a wide piece of canvas on the garden tiles. Daejeon, now 3 years old, dipped his tiny fingers into vibrant paints. Yellow, orange, white. Another son? Anelle asked playfully. He nodded with wide eyes. One for every person who smiles today. She paused, heart caught in her throat. Then we'll need a bigger canvas. She dipped her own brush in red and began sketching outlines of children walking beneath Daejeon's suns. They didn't speak for an hour. They painted, side by side, each stroke a prayer, each sun a promise. Across town, in the quiet courtyard of their villa, Taiho sat cross-legged beneath the prayer canopy. In his arms rested their son, barely a week old, wrapped in a soft olive blanket. The baby stirred only once, then settled against his chest. Taiho whispered a prayer, part Arabic, part Korean, a prayer not memorized but felt. Grant him peace. Teach him to love like his mother. Teach me to protect without fear. From the doorway, Nihal watched in silence. Her eyes carried the glow of new life, and her smile carried the stillness of peace, hard-earned. After marrying the love of his life and embracing Islam, Taiho had found what he'd never known in all his years of service: peace. Now, as the right-hand man of King Jihoon, he brought not only strategy, but compassion to the running of the palace.